Hey, what's up? Uh, all right. So this is this is my video talking about Star Wars. It's I think the 29th December 2019. Decade's about to end. Kind of just felt like going over some major things in my life, and Star Wars. The Episode 9 just came out. Haven't seen it yet. Um, I don't know. This is unscripted. I haven't really, I sort of have a general idea of what I want to talk about, but I'm going to be rambling a whole lot. If you have somewhere to go or something to do or whatever, if you uh, have a lot of time in your hands, you just want to relax, I guess you can just, you know, you can continue to listen. But I don't know if you're looking for concrete points and a distinguished topic, then I'm sure there are other videos you can listen to. But uh, if you're curious, if you just want to hear somebody talk about Star Wars, and then feel free to continue listening. But all right, so where do I begin? Okay, so when I don't know, I'm 26 years old. We're in '93, uh, and so I don't know. I was pretty lucky. I was able to catch on to Star Wars at a really young age. My folks aren't like crazy fans or anything, but they let me turn this up a little bit. There you go. My folks aren't crazy fans, but we had a let's see, a movie gallery in town. Of course, anybody who's a little bit older now, uh, will remember movie gallery, VHS rentals and stuff. But I don't have specific memories of exactly when I saw Star Wars, but I remember watching A New Hope, and it was really cool, and seeing the you know the the fights and such, and uh, the Mos Eisley and Tatooine, and the lightsabers, and I don't know, it was all captivating and such. And I didn't know exactly what was going on or anything, but I did I do remember being uh, like a kid, like on the playground. Yeah, I do have some slideshow, images ready, but I remember being a kid on the playground, kindergarten, and be like, oh man, I'm gonna play Star Wars. I'm gonna, pretend like I'm a pilot, like a space pilot, and I'm gonna be Luke Skywalker. And these kids were like, what is he doing? Like I felt kind of subconscious because I don't know. So I watched episode 4 and 5 and 6 as well. Just not really, through I guess continuous watching, I kind of got an idea of what was going on. There's this kid who knew about the Force, and he was you know trying to fight the evil empire, and uh, tons of technology, and there's force powers. I was a kid. I don't know. Y'all know what Star Wars is about, but I thought it was really fun, and I was pretty lucky to be so young and to know about all those things. Having you know having powers and having a cool laser sword, and going pew 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 pew. But uh, I don't know. It was just really interesting because uh, you know George Lucas. He this is around the time that uh, the uh, prequel trilogy was starting to come out, and he was directing this. Making this movie, this trilogy for young kids, for people like me who, who's like 5 years old, 5 or 6 around the time the turn of the millennium, and you know, I don't know, it must have been like just being conceived or just being just being born around the time he was brainstorming and starting to make it. So it's like, by the time I was able to, see a movie was around the time where it was finished, episode 1. Uh, a lot of people have disdain, not hatred, but disappointment with the prequel trilogy. But I thought it was all right. Like, once again, I gotta remind you guys if I'm rambling a little bit, just bear with me. I know, but let's see next. Oh, there's Endor, the moon of Endor. Star Wars Monopoly. There's a lot of Star Wars games, a lot of really crappy games. When the series was, you know, prequels. I guess there was a lot of games, but that's something I have. Well, I'm not sure if I have it around anymore, but this is like, Anakin Skywalker, and I was like, Anakin Skywalker. I know about Luke Skywalker. I'm like, oh, that's his dad. That's Vader. Oh, that's really cool. I had this thing. This was either before or like around the time the prequels were happening, but I remember being like 5 or 6. My sister was at her summer camp, and somebody gave me like a Pepsi or maybe a Mountain Dew or something. But I saw, all this was happening, and I think I had the it was either Qui-Gon Jinn or Anakin, or it was what was his name, Guido? No, not Guido. Fuck. Um, uh, Anakin's slave owner, or whatever his name is. Anyway, I had one of these. I'm like, whoa, this is like Star Wars, but it's new. But Anakin Skywalker, he's that kid. He's a kid, but like it took me a while to realize this wasn't a sequel. This is a prequel, and seeing the movie, I didn't know what I was expecting. I don't know, but it was episode 1 was like it was like a fun journey, a fun little journey. It's like its own self-contained story. A lot of people, might have had, they might have been expecting a lot of exposition with the whole overarching plot. Like they're gonna, they had a little bit of that with the Emperor, Palpatine. And as a kid, I was like, whoa, that's like the Emperor, right? I bet that's the Emperor. I don't know. I bet that's him. Of course, it was obviously him at the very end of the movie when after Maul was killed, they saw Qui-Gon getting burned and everything. Anyway, like it was a lot of fun. I remember being in the theater, like, oh my gosh, this is like seeing the LucasArts or whatever, Lucasfilm, uh, the 20th Century Fox, drum, chant or whatever. It was it was really exciting just going into the theater. Like I've seen these at my home video, but now I'm in the theater watching it. It was, the excitement was palpable. I remember that. It was a lot of fun. But let's see. I don't know. The home video days were great. Being able to, let's see. Let me see if I can go back here. Monopoly, Star Wars. I had a lot of PC games as a kid. You're lucky enough to have a family computer, and didn't run really well. I didn't know how to play Monopoly that well at the time. Star Wars itself seemed like such a huge universe. Like I didn't know exactly what all the technology it was about, and I didn't know what all the droids were and all the ships. I felt like it was larger than life. With all the military aspects and all the technology, but and the home movies, like, yeah, I don't know, it was just great being able to go through episode 4 to 5, and then 6, like, the whole finale of it. I don't know, being a kid, like, in the mornings, like in the AM, like 7, 8, or 9 o'clock in the morning, and just running around hyped up on pancakes or cereal or something, and just watching Return of the Jedi. It was, I really liked the beginning of that movie. It was I don't know, it wasn't high octane, I guess, but it was reasonably quick paced movie. But I don't know. Yeah, back to episode 1 of the prequels. Like, it was an exciting time, new Star Wars. My friend Rohan, he had this PC game of Phantom Menace, and it was super exciting because you had like thermal detonators and stuff you can throw, and you're climbing around in like the air ducts. Like, it had, it was really good visually, and the controls, and it's just exciting, being able to be Obi-Wan, or just like, you're not just like, I don't know, the appeal of going back is that like all the Jedi are still alive, and you're not necessarily fighting a bunch of stormtroopers, and you could be fighting anything. There could be any sort of forces in the galaxy that you could be, coming across. Most of them are droids, but those I forget what they're called, those tankers or whatever, destroyer droid, the Naboo, you know, they're badass. They had shields, and they had strong blasters and such, but I don't know, that whole scene was really cool. But that was a fun little game. It really, you know once again sort of became larger than life with all of the merchandising, all the games that came out, and like, you know I remember being at like a JC Penney or something, or at the Montgomery, Alabama mall, and there was a N64 set up in the middle of like a like clothing outlet store, and you know seeing this game, I'm like, whoa, dude, you get to pod race. It was really interesting. I played it a bit like 10 years ago. I guess when I was like 13 or so, but 16. But it's still pretty cool. There's a bunch of games I knew about, but I didn't really play a whole lot, like Rogue Squadron and stuff. But speaking of games, uh, like Knights of the Old Republic, yeah, that was one that my brother got, and he played more than I did. I played it a bit. I just wasn't too thrilled on the leveling and the sort of real time strategy battles, but and I saw people reviewing it and saw what you can do, and I still want to go back and play it because it's a really great game. It's very immersive. It's very large. There are a bunch of games that I like. There's Battlefront. That's right, 1 and 2. Like I've played that a little bit with a friend. Like I must have been like 15 at the time. My friend brought over Battlefront 2, and the multiplayer was really good. And there are just tons of really good Star Wars games that came around during the prequels. One of which, this one I ended up renting. It wasn't a very long game, but as far as like a first-person shooter aspect, and like an RPG, it was super good. It looked really good, and the guns were fun to shoot, and you had sort of a bunch of utility actions you could do to get through like the levels, and you had like you were 4 clone troopers fighting for the Republic, and a lot of people don't. It's called Republic Commando. Um, some of you might know about it, you might not, but it was for the GameCube, and there's this one portion of the game I remember where you that switch from uh, first person shooting to like third person, like hand to hand. It's very awesome. I don't remember too much about it, but I do remember how surprised I was with how good it was. And it took me a while to remember what it was called, because there are a lot of other games that came out that outshined it at the time. But let's see. I'm gonna go back a little bit. Um, these I just looked up Gogurt. Like these were probably for episode 1, but the episode 2, I remember seeing what's his face. I'm not great with the actors' names. Obi-Wan and freaking uh, Samuel L. Jackson. Like this is episode 2. They're like fighting on what was that planet in episode 2? Um, the one that you know. Anyway, the one with the arena, and Obi-Wan couldn't find it because it wasn't on um, the database at the Jedi archives. You guys know what I'm talking about. But anyway, they were fighting there, and it's like you can be like them, and have those 2 kids who are fighting back to back, and it's like Gogurt, Gogurt lightsabers, and I don't know. I remember that commercial. You can probably find it on YouTube. Um, yeah, episode 2 came out, and I had it on DVD, and my cats peed on the DVD when that and my uh, Harry Potter Chamber of Secrets DVD. I was kind of mad, but anyway, I just spent a lot of time like in my room playing games, or like watching I had my own television in my room. It was really nice, but I didn't have any cable in my, and so like I watched Holes one summer like 20 times with and without commentary, and I'd watch, episode 2 Clone Wars or no, Attack of the Clones. And even then, I kind of realized it wasn't the best movie. Like the acting was, I don't know, the script and the dialogue was it was really weird, and the whole dynamic between Anakin and Obi-Wan. Uh, God, I'm still struggling to remember Ian McGregor and Samuel L. Jackson. Yeah, there you go. And it's really bugging me, but that plan of it anyway. Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. There's a bit to be desired in that movie. Like it's sort of, I mean, I understand Anakin's character is somebody who's deeply troubled and has a lot of pressure, to be great, and a lot of pressure from the Jedi's, and he's got a lot of conditions and complexes. And Obi-Wan really shouldn't have been his master. Should have been Qui-Gon. He would have been a much better master for him. But anyway, like the movie was still fairly enjoyable. Like it was, a lot of like this is what was this place? This was, oh my gosh, it's driving me crazy. I don't want to. I'm so nervous to have a decent timed video, but all right, I'm gonna look this up right now. I have this. Camino. That's right. This is Camino. Yeah. So Obi-Wan goes to Camino, and he learns about the clone army that somebody made. He doesn't know exactly who made him, but then I always thought it was very weird how they didn't know exactly who made this army for them. I think they did. There's some Jedi who passed away at some time, and he made the army, and they just accepted it, and look where it got them. Very strange choices, but I don't know. The CG, like, it was really strange how, like, Yoda looked, but, because I had the VHS version of Phantom Menace, and, he's a puppet, Yoda's a puppet, and then he became CG Yoda. And the CG and the green screens were they were really cool, but they did seem like it does kind of break immersion now. Like, I don't know, it seems, I don't know. It's all right, It's just, I don't want to pick apart the movie. It was good. I think that was in 2002, and those are great times. I can talk about 2002 like in another video, but just GameCube days, DVD. Still like, do you want to get it on DVD? Do you want to get it on VHS? Like, oh, who knows? I don't know. I saw a lot of movies back then, but like I still have my like my ticket stubs for Attack of the Clones and for Revenge of the Sith. Let's see. But I wanted to talk about these, like, I don't know, just exciting times, like the Phantom Menace. Who knows, like, I didn't thought that Darth Maul would be the Phantom Menace. Like, of course we all, I don't know, just seeing the double lightsaber, like, like seeing those lightsabers in the Walmart stores, seeing the double-sided one. Like, I remember my neighbor, he had the double-sided, Maul lightsaber. I thought that was the coolest ever. And he also had a freaking Anakin Skywalker, like, costume he got. But I searched forever for this image. I had this, I don't have it anymore, but this, like, LCD water pixel game of a Naboo droid ship or whatever. It was really fun stuff, and I just kind of get nostalgic for that time, like, playing outside, having this around. Kids today they don't know about these games, but I don't know, kids having a whole bunch of toys in a closet or in a trunk, and pull one of these out and put to play around. But yeah, episode 3, I remember being I think I was in 6th grade at the time, and it was 2005. It was summer. It was May. I remember, like, they talk about how it's a weird time for, like, the holidays. These new ones coming out for Star Wars. Because I remember summer, like near the end of school. That's when you get started to be excited. You got the May fever, whatever, and Star Wars was gonna, come to the theaters, and I remember being like the last few days of school playing outside. It was all warm and stuff, and I'm like, oh man, I'm gonna see Star Wars when we get out of school. And sure enough, Episode 3 was pretty awesome too. Like, but it just, it felt like the closing of, it felt like the end, you know, finally full circle, leading up to, um, the episode 4, 5, 6. Like Mustafar, man, that was like, I don't know, hearing people talk about Mustafar and the, the fall of Anakin. It's really poetic. Like, say what you want about the, the prequels. Of course, we all know that they have, faults, and they have, like, brilliance within them. But I know, seeing the fall of Anakin, everything that led up to the point. Yeah, there's so many things. I always think about what could have, what could have been done to save Anakin from this path. But it was all predestined. There's a point which they had to meet, at the end. Man, sip some coffee. If you're still with me, and I don't want to seem self-conscious or insecure, but I know I'm sort of rambling and not saying too much. I don't know. Fill in the blanks yourself. but yeah, episode 3 is 2005, and left me with some holes. I don't know. You come down, like, once you get through the depression of a series coming to an end, and like the world that you're consuming, like the narrative or the story, you're consuming, and now there's no more to eat. It's just like watching any other show or reading some other series, and fill it in with something else. But yeah, Star Wars, really cool. Like, I like how George Lucas, this is a huge world that he's made. Definitely knew how to, build a world and build a good story. But, you can look into it as closely as you want to with a magnifying glass. But, he wrote the films without, it wasn't necessary to, to be a lore master or anything. Like, I've been, I guess you can call me a casual fan after all these years. Like, I like it a lot, and I've, done more than just watch the movies. Like, I've played a few games, and, I've read a couple of books, and, just, I haven't been super devout. It's not like my, most, most favorite of all stories and IPs and whatever, but, it's been with me, and, it's been like that for a lot of people. So, I guess that's a good, it's a good way to go into, oh yeah, Heir to the Empire. We want to talk about a good sequel story, Heir to the Empire, Thrawn. Like, oh, dude, I've picked it up in the library. It must have been like 2013 or something, and I got like halfway, but I was like, yo, this is really captivating. Like Luke Skywalker just like, picking up right after episode 6, and really interesting character Thrawn. He's a cold, calculating man who's who's not exactly malicious, not as malicious as, say, like the Emperor, any of his subordinates. But and then there was the midichlorian, not the midichlorian, but the Force, Salsamiri, the plants, the living plants that negate the Force. That was a really cool concept. I picked them up earlier this year and sort of went through the rest of the series. Really cool. Mara Jade was a great character. She was the Emperor's right hand woman. And there was a a clone of a Sith, which I thought was really cool. Well, he wasn't a Sith; he was a Jedi, but they call it Dark Jedi, because I think they had the term Sith at the time. But it's just really cool, like, knowing, like, 'cause there's this whole, I guess, extended lore, the extended universe. But they had stuff like the Sith that was written, like, before the first film came out, but so they used like a whole bunch of terms. Like, it was like that. It was a great read. If you haven't read Heir to the Throne, Heir to the Empire, and the other two that come after it, the uh, not predecessors, but pre preceding pro. Anyway, read them. They're good. They're good. But yeah, freaking Star Wars that the Star Wars that happened that we got is not it's not good. It's not. I'm gonna keep talking about that, but I want to go back a little bit. Um, the Clone Wars. I remember like the miniseries that came out on Cartoon Network. I remember being, God, this was such a night that stays in my memory. But I was in the middle of playing Super Smash Bros. Melee. I can talk about that. That is such a huge part of my life. But like I was playing baseball. I was like 9, and we had a game. And afterwards, you know, we ate pizza at this local place called Mr. Gaddy's in my town, and freaking I don't know. I just unlocked Mewtwo and Mr. Game and Watch, and I was so excited to get home and play some Melee. But we were at the Mr. Gaddy's, and there's this big old TV in the back, and they were playing an episode of I think it was the first episode of the Clone Wars miniseries, and I thought it was really cool. I'm like, yo, like this is like in the middle. This is in between like episode 2 and 3. I think that's really cool. And they had a whole CG animated Clone Wars that apparently is like really well received and really well written. And so I'm looking forward to watching those because people talk about them like with high regard. There's been a lot of really good Star Wars. I want to say fan fiction. Of course, it's all fan fiction because we're all fans. But the books, the games, the animated series. There's been a lot of good minds, like good storytellers, good artists who have gotten behind Star Wars. And Lucas, he's been really good. He does, of course, the original creator. He's not gonna, consider it part of his narrative and his idea of what Star Wars is, and that's completely fine. It's totally fine. I totally understand that. But he's open-minded enough to let people like play around with his world, and there's been some great ideas and great stories. And well, this right here, if you want to watch a really great video, like it's I don't know, just hit you in the feels. This is one you should check out. For anybody who's seen or heard of Berserk, the the manga anime, this is a great one. Just check it out. I don't know. It'll get you feeling depressed and such, but okay, so that leads us to today, I guess. I've never been a huge fan of Disney. Like, this is one thing that really gets me. Well, freaking, Disney, it's just been a huge money-making machine. It's always seemed cheap, plastic, disingenuous. And the eyes of these characters and their smug faces, like just something like the way that these characters emote is always like, this is the uncanny valley, like the whole CG animation that's came after Pixar. Well, Toy Story was the first movie I've ever seen in theaters. It was great and such, but nowadays a lot of kids medium, a lot of cartoons are all computer image animation. And I don't like it. I don't like it at all. And you can see the resemblance in 2D and 3D, but it's all, I don't know. Disney films have always really, there's something about them that's always really like gotten underneath my skin. Some of these characters are really well written, but I don't know. I've never been a huge fan of musicals, and I don't know. Disney is just, I want to enough about Disney as far as like their actual, original works, but yeah, they're so 2012 or 13 or whenever, apparently George Lucas, he wanted some other, they wanted other hands directing, I guess what he had, as an idea for the sequel trilogy. He trusted this woman, Kathleen Kennedy. Apparently she, was working with, um, Indiana Jones, and she's been, had her hands producing a lot of movies for decades. I didn't know anything about her. All I know is that I didn't like Disney, and I don't really trust Disney, and I think that they're just, you know, grabbing, any chance that they can to, make some money. Of course, what can you expect? So I've never, they're just not and disingenuous. They're not gonna make something as I didn't see this going well. That's what I'm getting at. And I was right, but I didn't see. I don't know. I was just gonna have to wait and see. I didn't have good feelings. I have a bad feeling about this, but I waited and I was like, well, Star Wars probably isn't going the way I think, but I'm just gonna wait and see. So, what do you call it? Force Awakens comes out, and go and see it with a friend of mine, and I don't know. I left the theater like it was an exciting movie. I thought it was really cool. The fight on what was it? New Tatooine. I don't know. It was Jakku. Like going into it, I sort of had a feeling this seems like kind of familiar to A New Hope, and then went online. Everybody was talking about how similar it was to A New Hope, and I thought it was fine. I recognized it was a fun movie, just like A New Hope, just like Phantom Menace. I as far as what's his face, Han Solo getting killed. I heard about how Harrison Ford, wanted to die off in Empire, and they brought him back, and he wanted to die off in Return of the Jedi. He just wanted to be done with Star Wars. I understand. I think it's really funny how he just really hates being famous for this one ridiculous, movie series. But anyway, I thought it was kind of sad that, didn't get to see all three of the returning cast members, come back and be on the screen with them, each other. They just didn't get written that way. But, I thought it was a pretty plastic movie, and I thought that Rey was sort of boring, and I thought that Poe was really cool. Poe was all, I don't know. I thought the whole Finn, I'll call you Finn. Like, okay, one thing that I really loved about Force Awakens was the very beginning of the movie. You get to they fly in a TIE fighter, and he's like, I always wanted to fly in one of these. I'm like, yeah, dude. Like, we've seen TIE fighter like flight with Vader and I guess the Imperial fighters, but then you have a rebel type. They call. All right, quick note. Resistance, rebellion. All right, I'll get into that in a second. But that was really cool. It was like, whoa, this thing's a lot to handle. You had trouble handling it first. It's of course because like you've played it in video games. They're fast and they have like quick turning and such. They're really. I thought it was awesome. The sound they make. It's really cool. But so I guess one thing I really took issue with was the First Order, the Resistance, and I'm just thinking that, like, we're starting off like we don't get to see the rise of this new force or whatever. It's just like there's a new republic and a new democracy, and we're just gonna like use this new Death Star planet thing to like take out 5 planets at once, and that blew my mind. I'm like, bro, like how many billions of years it takes for a planet to form and for life and civilizations to form, and then you're just gonna destroy 5 of them like that. Like that's a huge deal. Like whether it be in freaking Beerus and Dragon Ball Super, like just destroying planets, like destroying a planet is a big deal, and they're just gonna like wipe away 5 of them like that. Like a galaxy can't have that many planets, and you're just gonna, I don't know, but they sort of put an enormous dent, if not destroyed, crushed the Empire with Return of the Jedi, and suddenly 30 years later there's stormtroopers and there's a new order, the First Order, which isn't the First Order, it's like the second. I don't know. Really, it took issue with that. It just felt really like, I don't know, forced. Like, I don't know. There's no good transition there. It's like suddenly, we're having a Star War again. I don't know. And Rey's and Mary Sue. We've heard, you can listen to people talk about that, but I don't know. I had mixed feelings, but I still had hope. Like what a cliffhanger. Luke Skywalker, and you see Mark Hamill. And I was crying, man. I had a little bit of tears. Seeing Mark Hamill on the screen. Luke, he's finally back. Thought it was kind of cheesy. She just holds out his lightsaber like, like her face, take it. I don't know, but it was kind of like, I have this, like, bruh, like this is your lightsaber. No, that is a story for another time. Yeah, they didn't tell us about how they got the lightsaber back, did they? Fell off of the Cloud City. This movie series, the sequel, Disney's sequel trilogy was so fucking bad, dude. Like, I went to see. Okay, now we're gonna talk about The Last Jedi. I don't know if this has gone on for too long. I don't see a time frame, but 36 minutes. Well, at least I'm not 45, but all right. Last Jedi. Let me take some more coffee. All right. When I went to go see it, this was I think it was Christmas Eve. There was a couple. There's a couple that I was watching, and then there's myself. That was it. There were 3 people in my theater. Thought that was really funny. And the movie starts, and they're having a space battle, and it's going really slow, and there's people dying. I'm like, oh no, this woman, she just sacrificed herself. And there's like space bombers or whatever. They're moving super slowly. And I'm like, why are you guys moving so slowly? Like, I know the weight's a thing in space, I guess, but like, and then they're dropping bombs in space. I'm like, wait, how do you drop bombs? I know you're sort of in orbit, but like, where's the gravity coming from? Like, I don't know. It just didn't make any sense to me, how those bombs dropped and such. And I know I'm kind of starting off nitpicking, but like, I don't know, something felt off. And then the whole Rose Tico, like, oh wow, you're a legend. You're Finn. I'm like, but you're a coward. Oh, I'm like, I don't know. I wasn't feeling Rose from the beginning, and by the time they got to their own little arc, going to their plan, like to get I don't remember their plan, what the whole deal was, but they're trying to get somebody who can crack a code or whatever. Like, what really got me was that, that character with the goggles on her face. She's like, oh, I'm in the middle of this battle, but what we need to do is go to this planet and look for this man who's wearing this clothes, and he's at this table. I'm like, are you like watching this guy like at all times, or are you just talking to him? Like, why do you know exactly where he is? He at that table 24/7? Like, why is it just felt really contrived. I'm like, that's really stupid. And so they get there, and then they have a issues parking because there's property, and so they're taking issue with property, and then they're taking issue with child labor, and then she's like, you don't know, but it's so awful what they're doing, these capitalists and their child labor. Like, of course child labor is awful, don't take it the wrong way, but she's talking about that, and like Finn is right there, like, dude, this guy was a slave his entire life to the not the fake empire, the Disney empire, and like, I don't know. And so like they were just making a whole point against, like, this is Disney talking about capitalism, and it was ridiculous, man. Like, anyway, keep going. Holdo. Okay, so they started Disney. They had the Forces female thing. They had the the Leia book, and they had the hot-headed flyboy stuff, taking down, what's his face, Poe, a peg, I don't know. That whole space, the whole decision, and the altercation in the beginning of the movie, like it was a good plan. I know they lost a lot of people, sure, it's good little, at what cost do we, would we fight these battles? That's okay. That's okay narrative to go with, but like, slap them, you're demoted, and you're gonna listen to this woman say, all right, what do we do? I'm not gonna tell you what we do. What? Well, we need some orders. I don't have any orders. Like, what are we doing? They're just gonna chase us around. And it's like, you know what? You might be a hot-headed flyboy, but I'm Miss Purple Hair. You know what? I don't take shit from you, Mr. Patriarchy. I'm like, what is this? And like they wrote a book about her and Leia, and like how she was this, you know, she didn't have respect for authority, and she, people thought she was strange because she had different colored hair, and she was best friends with Leia, and growing up. And I'm like, all this is just like supplementary material for this character, and it was like it was just ridiculous. Like, I'm sorry, like, I don't know, feminism, and you know I, of course, I believe in, the power of females, and there's it takes two to tango. All right, it takes two to tango. There are roles that we all play as humans, and that nobody but us can do. And I'm not trying to make this a discussion about you know who's better or whatever, but like that's what they Kathleen Kennedy and the people in California, and I don't know, the how things are nowadays. You know what it is. I don't know, people who are insecure about being women, and who have a lot of, I guess, guilt in their hearts, and they, I don't know, try to have representation and stuff. But I don't know. She was a. I wanted to see Luke Skywalker. That's what everybody else wanted to see. We wanted to see Luke and what they were up to, and want to see freaking Leia Organa Solo Skywalker. Princess Leia. I wanted to see her as well, but she was in a coma because she got launched into space. And then sure enough, she was just in a coma most of the movie, and then Carrie Fisher passes in real life, and they squandered any hope of having a decent movie with the old cast. And I'm sure you can. I don't want to talk about this, but you can. It hasn't been. I can't say anything that hasn't been said more eloquently and by like tens, dozens of people online. But Luke Skywalker's. I left the movie theater feeling. I know it was like 7 minutes ago I started talking about this and rambling, but anyway, freaking. So I left the movie theater feeling kind of depressed. Waking up the next day, I'm like, checked online, people just didn't like it, and this has just been a whole debacle. For like the past year. And I remember going to a Comic-Con in Birmingham. I think it was 2018, not this year. But there's this girl, I don't know if she's my age or not, but we were just talking about Star Wars, and I had been drinking thanks to some people, and she's like talking about the state of Star Wars and The Last Jedi, and I was just disagreeing with her on, this is a great movie. I'm like, no, it wasn't a great movie. I had left that movie feeling totally depressed, and like this, the fans have just been completely, divided, and it's just like the directors and the people involved have been instigating them and blaming them, and it's just been a huge like shit show. And she was like, well, all I can say is Kathleen Kennedy has done a really good job. And I was just like, no, she hasn't. She really hasn't. George Lucas, this man trusted her, he wrote a detailed like skeleton of a trilogy, and she just threw it out. The I haven't seen episode 9 yet. I don't want to pay them to see it. I don't really want to see it. And like, I kind of do, but like, I don't want to. This is gonna make me more dejected. Uh, you know, anybody could have taken, like, Lucas trusted her, and then she said she promised that she would, respect the characters and the story that he made, and she lied to she lied through her teeth, she lied to his face, and yeah, dude, it's just not gonna be the same. We all know that. If you enjoy the new stuff, then it's fine. But like, they come out with like 2 games. They've come out with like a few books, but like people used to, be able to do whatever they wanted with Star Wars, and it was cool with the extended universe. They call it Legends now. Like, I'm not gonna call the whole stuff Legends. Like, just because Disney owns Star Wars, just because they had enough money to buy Star Wars, doesn't mean that they can just like, call the shots. Like, legally, yes, they can call the shots, but like, they haven't won me. I'm not gonna play ball. Like, I'm not getting like involved. Like, officially. I don't have to, adhere to like their copyright rules or whatever. I know. It's not Legend. It's the extended universe, the EU. I'm not. The European Union is. I don't really like that, but so the EU for me has to do with Star Wars, not, you know, a coalition of countries coming together and undermining the sovereignty of nations. But that's a whole other thing. But yeah, so it's been 45 minutes now. I have no idea how long this file's gonna be. So I don't know. Just wrapping this all up, I guess. Star Wars is dope, and thanks for listening. And yeah. Oh yeah. If you want to, talk to me or listen, tell me your story in the comment section. Don't be afraid to like, share, comment, subscribe, turn on that bell for notifications. All that, you know what to do. If you like the video, you know what to do. But you know what I'm talking about, all that shit. But yeah. Yeah, there you go. Reflecting on Star Wars. There it is. I just want to. I guess I can mention a few things before I stop the video. Alec Guinness. I really like that guy. He read, the story. He's like, hey, there's something here, And he was out there, being a legitimate, bona fide actor that sort of made everybody, get on top of their, their game when they're out in the desert. And, Prowse, he was cool. Sorry he got boned in the credits and stuff and couldn't go to events for a while. And I thought it was cool how Harrison, he did the rehearsals so much, for like for people auditioning, that he just took the role. And I don't know, my favorite is New Hope. I really I don't know, I like New Hope, but the one I can watch, like, I don't know, Phantom Menace, people hate it, but like, maybe it just because it takes me back to being 5 years old. But I don't know, I can watch Phantom Menace, like I have watched it like once and then just repeat it and watch it again. Like, I've watched it twice in a row. Like, I don't know, I like it a lot. Thought it was really cool how they had the Fets, and you see the Fets in the first, episode 1. That was really cool. Thought it was pretty weird how R2D2 was just there the whole time from the very beginning, and they picked up Anakin. And I love Aeronauts, their Star Wars Jedi Party edition. If you've seen like the Jedi Party episode, if you haven't, go and watch it. It's like when they're fighting on whatever that planet. I can't recall the planet's name, but all the Jedi in that stadium with Count Dooku. It's like DJ Dooku, freaking um, Mortal Kombat theme. But it's Jedi Party. One of the dopest edits and dopest tracks. And at the very end, it's like, is that all true? It's like, wait, R2D2 was there. It's like, there he was. Are you sure? It's like, yes, it happened like that, exactly. And that's how it's going to be forever and ever. Accept it. Accept it you must. And Luke's just like, all right, R2D2 is like 80 years old or something, And he was hanging out with all these Jedi, He's been in this shit for a long time. That was really a good touch. Yeah, at this point I'm just talking about, I'm just continuing to talk about Star Wars. Games, episode 3. We'll say I really like what they did, at the beginning of episode 3, just, the time skip. There's a really good novel of like moments before episode 3 happened. I forget that one. I really like the relationship between Obi-Wan and Anakin, and the deleted scenes too. It's like they've had a lot of battles together. They've put their angst in the past. Anakin's getting a lot more respect that he feels he needed, and so he's chilled out a bit, and they're just having fun doing their thing, fighting. That was really nice. And as last time we saw him before seeing him in Mustafar, there was the whole Anakin's in the shadow and Obi-Wan's in the noon sunlight, and it was really cool, and they're still cordial and friendly, and those couldn't be that way forever, unfortunately. There's another book I want to mention. It's called, I picked it up from the library. It's called Fatal Alliance, or Deadly Alliance. I don't know. One of them's a Mortal Kombat game, but Fatal Alliance, I think it's called. Really cool one. A lot of people, apparently, I looked on some reviews. People didn't like it very much. I thought it was really cool. I forget which era it is or whatever, but there's. I just give you a rough outline of the plot. Really cool. There's a man who's a spy in the Republic, and he's an Imperial spy, and there's a whole bunch of there's this ship that has some sort of really fine technology and a recording of it gets destroyed in space after some people try to raid it, and they self-destruct, and then the Hutts, they end up getting it, and they have an auction for it, and everybody wants it. The Republic wants it, the Empire wants it, the Jedis want it, the Sith want it, whatever is on this audio file and whatever this piece of technology is. And there's also a Mandalorian that's involved that I haven't seen the Mandalorian yet. I'm not paying for Disney Plus or anything, but there's a Mandalorian who's in the mix. And it's just I don't know, the beginning of it's very cool. It's just all these forces that are focused on one thing. It's I'm sure there are movies that are like that. I can't recall, but it's like Snatch. Maybe there's a diamond that everybody's trying to go for, and this one focal point that everybody's it's driving everybody's motivation. Who can catch the ball, and keep your eye on the birdie. I don't know. It was a really cool book. Star Wars. Yeah, I don't know. I'm ready to put this shit to bed. I don't love this series. I do. I mean, I love it, but I don't. If it's not like Pokemon. I'd rather have Pokemon than Star Wars. It's not worth, crying about. It's totally done. It's dead. The future is just going to be a bunch of plastic nonsense. unless they get some good, minds that are going to respect, the story, and not try to inject their own like political worldviews, unless it's sort of a bipartisan kind of deal. Like there's cruelty in in the world, and then there's benevolence and mercy and love and passion and adventure, forgiveness. I don't know, the dichotomy of good and evil. One thing that kind of pisses me off just a little bit, there's the dark side, and then there's just being a good person. But now it's like the dark and the light. Like, bro, like there wasn't the light side. Like that wasn't uttered once in any of the 6 movies or like many books. Like they just brought like, I can bring him back to the light. I'm like, bro, like I don't know. Like I know there's dark, and then the opposite of dark is light, but like I don't know. It seems really corny to me. Anything else? I don't know. Indoor, really cool. Whenever I see Indoor, it just brings me back to when I was a kid. Saturday mornings. Empire. I used to have the freaking, cassettes of Empire Strikes Back, and I don't know. That was cool. Listening to that story, and I thought Empire was a really cool movie. Good pacing, and I don't know, Hoth, going to space to go to Dagobah. Dagobah's, just I don't know, it seems like, there's a whole world of possibilities that can happen when Luke goes to Dagobah and gets trained with the Force. Like, he could have just stayed there, and I don't know, Cloud City was a really cool place. I don't know, just the aesthetic of all of the scenes and all of the places in Empire is part of why I think it's such a good movie, or why people love it so much, because, I don't know, all of the designs for the locations are just, I don't know how to describe it. They just seem so cozy. I don't know. It's really strange. Well, I guess I'll wrap this up. It's been an hour now. If you've put up with this, or if you've enjoyed it, well, I'm happy. If I'm sure there've been plenty of people who I totally understand not wanting to listen to an hour of video, or having something to do, or losing interest, or once again, I had no sort of script, or this is all off the cuff, and it's gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay. There's gonna be heat death and stuff. Star Wars doesn't need to live forever. Our kids, they don't need new Star Wars stuff. Like, it's to the death of Disney. All right. Okay. Oh yeah. It's something I really wanted to. What Disney has done, like just this image. There's a bit of imagery that I want to. What Disney has done, they're basically necromancers. Like Star Wars is like, imagine it like a walking corpse, like a zombie. That's essentially what they've done with Star Wars. They're a bunch of necromancers, and then Ryan Johnson is a necrophiliac because he's just like, he's fucking Star Wars, dude. He's just fucking a dead corpse, dude. That's what they've done. They've just fooled around with this like this shell of a series, and the sequels is nothing more than a bad fan fiction. Of course, there all of it's fan fiction and all of it's fiction, but like all of the EU stuff. But they've done is essentially what this is. They had Star Wars, they had their own playground, and none of it was like had anything to do with any of the the sub. Oh my gosh, I should just jumbled up. Anyway, this is what they were doing. They're just playing on a playground, and it was just all like a 5-year-old fantasy, and they didn't do a good job writing it at all. That's all I have for you. I want to have a clean hour. Thank you very much.